Hello, welcome to the Single African Market, which is designed to bring you almost all the actions around the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. Now, there is a lot of talk about the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, that is IATF 2021, that's supposed to take place in KwaZulu-Natal, all the way in Durban, South Africa. We'll be telling you a lot about it, and the AfCFTA has a lot of messages around that for you. We'll be bringing that to you shortly. But talking about rallying folks around, rallying the continent around investment opportunities this week, the AfCFTA Policy Network, the APN, held a conference, investment conference for that matter, on opportunities that the AfCFTA can offer so that countries can take advantages of themselves to invest. Now, we had a lot of folks coming around the entire continent of Africa and even beyond, experts coming in to talk about how best the continent can take advantage of the AfCFTA and invest, particularly in Ghana. A lot of investment opportunities, and they were highlighted at the conference. Kenyatta, Ghana's Minister of Finance, has urged Africans to come together and create partnerships that will make the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, work effectively for the continent. In a speech read on his behalf by Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. John Kuma, at a 3-day Africa Globalized Investment Forum organized by the AfCFTA Policy Network, the Finance Minister said the COVID-19 pandemic has taught Africa that its economic prospects hinges on expanding regional value chains through budding manufacturing economies.
The first among many other lessons that the pandemic has taught Africa is that our economic prospects hinge on expanding regional value chains across our nascent manufacturing economies. In truth, the setbacks suffered across local supply chains due to the pandemic necessitate reshoring our industrialization and trade efforts.
He said Africa's post-COVID-19 recovery should be anchored on increased economic integration and unlocking the productive capacity of the continent to meet local demand across strategic sectors.
For us in Ghana, industrialization is an important tool in positioning us to benefit from the AfCFTA. Additionally, new financing models are also required for a rapid recovery of enterprise and value chains within the context. We must move beyond typical debt finance and encourage more equity participation from institutional investors. Greater equity participation will be the catalyst for effective knowledge transfer and sustainable partnerships on the continent.
Louis Awafo, Group Executive Director of AfCFTA Policy Network, APN Group, said all efforts need to be made to access opportunities created under AfCFTA protocols on harnessing and harmonizing investments through the African continent.
This summit is a clarion call to all African country leaders, technocrats, private sector and entire citizenry to collaborate in all development issues for our transformational socio-economic growth in the current world pandemic. We should know that our own lives lie in our hands and efforts. We can achieve our goals when we trust each other.
Other speakers at the summit emphasized that there hasn't been any better time to invest in Ghana and Africa than now.
Sometimes the challenge would be how governments able to appreciate and engage with the private sector to be able to realize all the objectives that will go into develop the nations.
We believe that this ambitious project is absolutely key for promoting inter-African trade and therefore key for economic development in the entire continent, because we all know that investment will follow trade. So by increasing the trade potential inside Africa, the investment potential will grow.
Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, said Africa's vision to create one market has come to stay and should serve as an incentive for our prospective investors on the continent.
We have to invest in digital infrastructure for implementation of the AfCFTA. This is not just a traditional trade agreement. In my view, this is the last opportunity for Africa to lift ourselves by our bootstraps in every way that we can, whether in digital platforms, in customs procedures, in trade facilitation. We have to make sure that this agreement delivers more than just efficient transit of goods from one border to the other.
The maiden edition of the Africa Globalized Investment Forum aims at mobilizing stakeholders across the globe to invest in the economic sectors of all member states of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA. So at that conference, there were a lot of talks about how financial investment can take place, how there can be opportunities under the regional value chain, for instance. A lot of discourse went on regarding investment opportunities under AfTA. Folks from real estate shared ideas, folks from finance shared ideas, folks from industry shared ideas, and folks from housing and all of that. Let's go to the panel and listen to a few. Experts from diverse fields highlighted numerous investment opportunities that can be harnessed under the AfCFTA.
We are in economies which are ever more strong, and which are very, very far from the usual perception people used to have and tended to associate with natural resources. So at the moment, I think we're really we're in a timing where people start realizing that it's not that progress is being made, it has been made already, and it's just now even increasing.
Guinea, Sierra Leone, some Liberia, they're very established with diamonds and minerals. Our legal framework and our structures are more unique and better than theirs. With experience, we're able to liaise with the locals, learn what they have, and then you add value to it to be able to push. So sometimes clients contact MNC in Ghana to go and make exports for products from Sierra Leone or from Mali.
One of the main problems with startups and with businesses thriving in this new and vibrant market, Africa, is with management. So that's the reason why we set up the MCRE group as a company, to come in and help with these businesses, to help them take off. We bring in financial support, we bring in managerial support as well.
And I really do hope that lawyers are looking outside of maybe the areas that they are used to practicing, especially new and upcoming lawyers, and looking at these opportunities as practice areas that they can develop. Even in able to provide that, we need to be able to understand the AfCFTA ourselves as legal practitioners.
What we've been telling the market for about 3 more years now is like there is granularity as well within markets in Africa, to show that there are medium risk, medium returns, and that you don't always have to think as, okay, I'm going to Africa, so I'm seeking double-digit returns. And we've been pushing. We're saying, well, you can have single-digit returns, very decent transactions, very secure as well, and that will provide you a very good alternative to what you get in your current markets. To bring the financing on this portion, on the integration of the value chain.
In Africa, it's in a place where we don't need handouts. What we do need is good direct foreign investments, which would help us not to sell our raw materials outside, but to be able to add value.
The experts charged African entrepreneurs to prepare themselves with the requisite desire to succeed in business, have understanding of basic legislation on doing business, be willing to register their businesses, and above all, be prepared to surmount the odds of doing business and embrace the investment opportunities that are going to be created under the AfCFTA.
The number one thing that we lack, or the number one thing that we need to see all the time happen, or we need to see in people, in individuals, and in companies, is desire. The kind of desire that makes you feel like you've spent 8 whole hours in a day and you have not worked consciously toward a certain goal, And that goal in this respect would be to see Africa move from the developing stage to a developed world.
Opportunities are everywhere. The difficulty is to have a good execution.
To create generational, multi-generational wealth, to scale up company, you cannot continue in the informal sector. There are several advantages of being registered. For instance, an insurance company, there's an accident, your goods have fallen off, armed robbers, anything can happen, uncertainties in trade. So those times you can fall back on, for instance, getting an insurance company to insure against your products when you're doing cross-border business.
I have always argued that the youth are not the future, the youth are now, they are leaders now. And therefore we should create an environment that will make them to harness their entrepreneurial spirits. And all that would require clear discussion between the universities and governments to see how entrepreneurship will be created, so that the youth are not there saying, oh, we're waiting for the government to give us a job. These jobs are difficult to find out.
We're talking about the youth. They say the youth, everything is the youth. What incentives has the government done for the youth? A lot more graduates are coming in every year, yet government cannot employ. And we are not empowering the private sector to be able to employ more people to ease the stress on government.
But if we have the opportunity and we're able to take the risks which the youth are doing in terms of IT and all that, let's create that enabling environment to allow them to use technology in a way that they would build the industries that will be the backbone of the implementation of the CFTA, because the CFTA in itself is meaningless unless you have products that you have to sell.
It's not easy being an entrepreneur. The fact is, you are overtaxed because you register your company by yourself. You go to GRA and say, oh, I want to register with you to be able to pay my taxes. The next moment, they slap you with a TCC of provisional tax assessment when you haven't even started work.
We have not been a part of the governance of our country. We have left it to who we term as the leaders. But you need a strong and robust private sector being a very key part of the governance.
The government of Ghana and other governments of Africa were urged by the pundits to desist from corruption, streamline institutions to perform efficiently, and decentralize functions of state agencies to facilitate ease of doing business in Ghana and on the continent, to encourage entrepreneurship and investment.
We have to also collectively address the issue of corruption, so that when anyone is coming into a country, you do not want to have a situation where you have to bribe your way through to get whatever paper you need. And that we have to work on. We all have to work on to eliminate that. And so we have to, and that will be the part which we call ease of doing business. And you have to remove those barriers that impedes.
Somebody says, how come foreigners come in and they're able to make it? The truth of the matter is, we don't help ourselves. Our policies do not grow Ghanaian businesses, and it's about time we remove this political umbrella and give opportunities to the youth, those who want to go into entrepreneurship, put them together.
And we need to decentralize as a country. It's here in Ghana, a lot of things are in Accra.
Yeah.
So if you want to get anything done, then you're spending a whole day trying to travel here. Then there are lines, then it's 5 o'clock, so government business is closed. And then because you want to get it done, so you're looking for, oh, you work here, can you push this for me? What is preventing us to put in different satellite offices in different regions and even different municipalities?
We're not acting. We always want to give the greatest speeches mankind has ever heard. It is time for us to put the full stop to the speeches, pick up the script, and start to act already. This is what we need to do. We're not being responsible for our own progress. We're leaving this responsibility for the foreign world, and that's what's keeping us back. We need to move forward. We need to start to act.
You don't need to wait till you are 60, 40 before you start your business. If you have the idea now, start. Whoever you need to talk to, go talk to the person. And for our leaders who are encouraging our younger ones to take up entrepreneurship, you also need to make yourself accessible so that, or your ministries accessible so that these people can access information. You don't tell them, go and be an entrepreneur, and then they cannot even get a business registered.
The pundits agreed that indeed the AfCFTA has and will create enormous opportunities in Ghana and on the continent of Africa, but will require deliberate efforts of governments to facilitate ease of doing business and the courageous abilities of citizens, especially young people, to commit to entrepreneurship to grab the fast approaching investment opportunities that are being created under the AfCFTA.
There's a lot of political willingness that needs to go into really seeing the afterwork. Governments need to be able to dedicate resources, non-profits, other stakeholders, and in the next 5-10 years, we'll be talking a different language and be seeing the realization of the AfCFTA for the continent.
We need to market Ghana. We have a lot of things. We have minerals, we have affordable lands for agriculture, we have opportunities in real estate because we have a huge real estate deficit. But what are we doing? We talk more and we act less.
The main difficulty I'm facing, and now it's changing, but I think there are a number of international investors who are not present in the continent and who've been hesitant to do their first steps, right? And I think we really need to bring this new cash in the financial system. It's like people are focusing on short term, all right? And what we're saying is like you have to look at long term, you have to look at trends. So when you look at what is happening in Africa, you don't have to look at what happened like last week and the news coverage, which is focusing on the coup in Guinea like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. You have to focus on what is happening in Ghana for 30 years. You have to focus on what is happening in Nigeria for 20 years. You have to focus on trends. And then you will see that the trends have been very positive for like at least 20 years.
I think that one of the key things when it comes to AfTA is for us not to be so esoteric and high level, but really using the concept of street law to really get in our SMEs from the informal sector to understand, because it can become a language that we are speaking, that there is AfTA, and it could be that it's for people in Accra or Abuja, the capitals, but in the villages, we need to be able to bring it down for those people in our villages, those on the streets, to understand.
It's important to educate the market, the international investors. The perception they have is still not what the reality is actually is.
If we want the responsibility of the development of this country and this continent to be the responsibility of the foreign world, then we must be ready to give up our rights as well.
We need to begin as citizens to understand that you need to take risk. Everything is risk. If it's something that you want to do, in spite of all the challenges, take a risk.
Well, so from that successful investment summit held here in Ghana, organized by the APN, that's the After Policy Network. Now, the AfCFTA Secretariat is inviting all and sundry all the way to Durban, South Africa for this year's IATF 2021. That's the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2021, where all countries on the continent of Africa are going to gather, showcase what they have, opportunities in their countries when it comes to agriculture, tourism, technology, finance, whatever. Countries are going to be in Durban, South Africa, and they're urging you to be there.
The Intra-African Trade Fair, which is now holding for the second time, is a good opportunity for the private sector. The Intra-African Trade Fair is a platform for business, is a platform where business meet business, where people conclude investment deals, where investors meet with financial partners, financial institutions to fund their project. It's a platform where governments meet with the private sector. So for me, I see the AITF as a very good opportunity for the business people, for financial institutions and the government to join their efforts to make the AfCFTA implementation a reality. So everyone should be actually participating in this Intra-African trade fair.
For the IATF, it has become a one-stop shop where you see it all. What I mean by seeing it all, it's a place where you are going to find out for your businesses, other businesses that you can have joint ventures with, because that's what this AfCFTA is all about. It's all about building mega businesses. So it is one opportunity where businesses can meet and match and turn to mega businesses because they will match their operations. It's also an opportunity where you find what is available in Africa, within the continent and beyond, because also there will be other, the rest of the world will actually also be participating. So it is where you would find the goods that are in Africa. And then it's also an opportunity from our side for you to know the rules.
The idea of having Intra-Africa Trade Fair started with the signature of the AfCFTA itself. What we are trying to do with participating in Intra-Africa Trade as the AfCFTA, we are trying to deliver a message that this time is different. The AfCFTA is not only trade agreement that is there for the sake of having trade policy, another trade policy tool, but no, we are trying to say from day one, we are combining the trade policy tools we're having in the AfCFTA with actual business sector involvement.
This week we're going to present to you an innovator and also an entrepreneur, an innovator from Botswana who is producing energy-saving LED bulbs. He hopes to light up the entire African continent with that. He was at the APN Investment Summit. Very remarkable story, this young man, just 34 years, and he's already powering and lighting the whole of Africa.
At the age of 27, I had a dream of lighting up Africa. Worked on my business proposal, failed to get investments, moved on again to the age of 29, did the same thing. At the age of 29, after doing a few supply jobs with my government, I managed to source money. Now, as a young entrepreneur, I could have just spent that money to say I want to buy flashy cars or I want to go out on holidays. But instead, I used the same money now to feed my dream, which was to manufacture LED lights in Botswana. Fast forward 3 years later, which is where we are right now, the bulb is selling in all major retailers in Botswana, and we're the fastest selling brand across our country. As an expansion plan, the bulb right now has footprint in South Africa, where we plan to set up a manufacturing plant. But for now, we have set up a distribution center which is distributing throughout the northwest of South Africa. Now, the main plan, the main goal is for us to be the lighting partner of Africa as a continent. I want Africans to use their own lighting, to say we have our own lighting brand in Africa. Most of our lighting comes out from China. It comes out from different continents. The reason why I'm here in Ghana is that I've got major interest in setting up a manufacturing plant in Ghana. I believe I can make it possible. Now, the bulb is just not about making money. We have CSR programs, and also we believe in empowering the youth. Throughout South Africa and Botswana, all of our employees are youth. The employee that says that has the largest age is me at the age of 34. Everyone else is younger than me. Now, the plan is to do the same thing in Ghana, to create employment for the youth, and also through our CSR project, which we call Lesedike Mpo in our mother tongue, which means that light is a gift. We focus in community boarding schools, and we change the entire lighting, because we all know that education is important. Now you can imagine kids out in boarding schools without lighting, how painful it would be. So now as a company, we look forward to also helping Ghana to light up its schools if the dream of us setting up a plant here happens. As a young entrepreneur who has come this far, I'm dead sure that I'm going to make it happen. And also, if there's someone in this room that can actually help us in fast-tracking the dream, it will be my pleasure to have a sit-down with them. It will be my pleasure to have different partnerships here in Ghana to make this dream happen.
So just as the investment summit happened here in Ghana, and there's also the upcoming conference in Durban, that's the Intra-Africa Trade Fair coming up in Durban. Quite a number of news and events are happening everywhere. For instance, this week, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat is in Abidjan. We are bringing all of that to you in news and events happening around the continent.
Ils ont donné du dynamisme à ce monde.
This year's CGECI 2021 saw in attendance the Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire, ministers and ambassadors of the Sofitel Hotel in Ivory Coast. Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, in addressing a panel at the 2021 conference on choosing Africa resilience and the continent's responses to the economic crisis triggered by COVID-19 pandemic, said in spite of the remarkable measures instituted by the continent to addressing the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the services sector, cross-border trading, and other areas were negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
In 2020, out of 55 countries, 41 countries, or 42 rather, were either in a full or a partial lockdown as a result of COVID-19. Goods were not transiting through borders. The services sector in Africa was severely affected. The services sector last year lost close to, according to the World Bank, close to, in Africa, close to 40 billion United States dollars. The airline industry, hospitality industry, and so on.
Wamkele Mene said the proactive measures instituted by the continent, however, reduced the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in Africa significantly.
We introduced a trade corridor so that even when borders were closed, goods were still able to transit. We took this step along with the Assembly of Heads of States and Government that ultimately adopted that as an instrument, the concept of a trade corridor in the middle of a public health crisis where borders are closed.
He said, going forward, the private sector on the continent must be engaged in the aggressive implementation of the AfCFTA in order to boost the recovery of the continent's economy.
The way in which we will recover quicker is by involving the private sector in aggressive implementation of the AfCFTA so that boosting intra-African trade becomes the driver of Africa's recovery. The long-term resilience issue, we've discussed it, it is related in my view to industrial development and output, but in the short term, the resilience will come from aggressive implementation and boosting intra-African trade.
Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has said that Africa is at a crossroads, poised on one hand to reap the economic benefits of its youthful population and economic reforms, but facing the spread of terrorism and insurgency on the other hand, which is challenging almost all its nations. Ghana's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo pointed to multiple threats to the territorial integrity of some African countries, many civilians facing serious threats and instability in some nations complicated by the interest of different actors, not only within conflict areas, but also from outside the continent. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also cited, quote, worrying trends, unquote, in Africa, saying too many countries where the military has seized power and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has exacerbated, quote, poverty, inequalities, and all the drivers of conflict, unquote. Their briefings to a virtual meeting of the UN Security Council on cooperation between the United Nations and the African Union highlighted challenges and conflicts facing the continent, where less than 5% of the population has been vaccinated against COVID-19. Kenyatta, whose country holds the Council presidency this month and chaired the meeting, said the aftermath of the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled the long-time Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and split the country between rival governments, the rise of Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State extremist group COT, and the emergence of domestic terror groups funded by international actors pose grave social economic challenges for Africa, unquote. Meanwhile, in South Sudan, thousands of Sudanese anti-coup protesters took to the streets on Saturday to support the country's democratic transition, which a military takeover and deadly crackdown derailed. The protest came almost a week after the military last Monday detained Sudan's civilian leadership, dissolved the government and declared a state of emergency, leading to a chorus of international condemnation. Quote, "No to military rule," unquote, and quote, "We are free revolutionaries and we will continue the road," unquote. The growing demonstrations occurred throughout the Khartoum area, including in its twin cities of Omdurman and Khartoum North, while in the Red City of Port Sudan, protesters in their hundreds blocked the streets, according to witnesses. Sudan had been led since August 2019 by a civilian military ruling council, which was supposed to last 3 years and lead to full civilian rule. So if you have to travel to any city across the continent of Africa, the flight schedules leaving the commercial capital of Africa, that's Accra, Kotoka International Airport to be specific, to the rest of the cities in the continent of Africa, are coming up next on your screens, together with the weather report for all cities in the continent of Africa, as well as the forex rate for the African market and the AfCFTA status for party states. Next. So from the beginning of this program, we said something to you that we have set out to let you understand that entrepreneurship is great, innovation is great. And ever since we started, you realize that the wind of entrepreneurship and innovation is blowing all across this country and even on the continent of Africa. Everyone is being encouraged to do something, innovate, get into entrepreneurship, because the market of the continent of Africa has been opened very wide. And it is only when we begin to do things and get into activities that we can take advantage of the bigger market that has been created for all of us. And very soon, when we all start trading freely without hindrance and borders, you will realize that an opportunity has been created for you to take advantage of it. And we have to say a big thank you to the Ministry of Information, which is also in charge of the trade information in Ghana, for being behind us, and also the Ministry of Trade and Industry for supporting us to come your way with this particular program that is highlighting the opportunities around the AfTA or AfCFTA to you, particularly those in Ghana and the rest of the continent as well. Also, the German Development Corporation, the GIZ, for supporting this program, the UNDP for backing this program and making it happen, and the International Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest association of businesses with about 45 million businesses across the globe, for hosting the entire program. We say a lot of thanks to all of you for supporting the dream and vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. Let us continue to work together and tag along this program. Follow us on all the social media platforms. If you have questions around the AfCFTA, you can always share them with us. We will send them to the right outlets and get the responses for you from the National Secretariat, from the AfCFTA Secretariat, the ministries and all the agencies who are working to make this vision a reality. Thanks for watching. See you same time next week.
In the name of great Africa, is the fight and conquer now. In the name of great Africa, there is in the name of grace.